Hello and welcome back to the Harri and Marcus Podcast. A sad one. It's in memory of Tina Turner, who died a few days ago. As we said at the end of our last show, that we were going to do a tribute to her. So this is it. Great artist. I think I'm trying to think if I've got any personal memories of her. I remember her well in the 80s. I don't obviously remember her that well in the 60s. But I have seen a lot of stuff by her in the 60s. Do you remember her in the early days, or have you just seen stuff later in the years?
Forget where I was thinking. My first memory must have been River Deep, Mountain High, because I think it was played regularly on the radio in the 70s. But my first real memory of like the song was Nutbush City Limits.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I didn't buy for some reason. It was a great single at the time, and Ike's guitar is pretty good.
I mean, for all that's been, I mean, obviously with what happened in their marriage, there's been a lot of bad things said about Ike in the last few days. But I think people forget he was actually quite a good musician and had quite a good band.
Couldn't sing though.
No,
couldn't sing though. She said that in one of the interviews I listened to recently. But P.P. Arnold, who was an Ikeette, didn't have any problems with him, and said he was a really good professional musician. But I'm not sure she was in the Ikeettes for particularly long. But she said it's the biggest influence on her career, working with Tina Turner. Held her in good stead.
Anyway, back to Tina. Born Anna May Bullock, as everyone probably knows, on November the 26th, 1939. And according to what I've got on the screen in front of me, it says she's an American-born Swiss singer. So I don't know if she took out Swiss nationality when she lived over there or whatever. But
yep. She, I think in the 80s or 90s, she became a Swiss citizen. She did say, I think this is in a Terry Wogan interview.
Oh, right.
I heard she said she just bought a house in London. So Terry Wogan show, it must have been in the 80s. Would have been post 85, I guess.
Yeah.
But she said she just bought a house here, and he asked her the question, "Where's your home now?" And she didn't say England, but she said her early life was in America, but her future now is all on this side.
Yeah.
This side of the ocean. So she kept that. Obviously moved from London to Switzerland and stayed there for the rest of her life, because she had a special thing with London. Because remember, River Deep, Mountain High bombed out in the States. Only got to about 180 in other charts, and it got to number 3 over here. And she said she felt the London scene was the coolest scene out in the 60s, and we got them. We understood them over here. She had a better response when she played here.
Yeah.
Because for all our horrible Alf Garnett stuff and everything, we didn't really have that segregation in music.
No.
I might be wrong. People might leave messages telling us we don't know what we're talking about, but it doesn't.
I don't think we did though, because when Motown did the tour,
Motown tours, they were in America they were still having to play black concert halls up to a time.
Yeah.
They came here and were headliners.
Oh yeah. Who was it? Dusty Springfield went on, didn't she? She did that Ready Steady Go special, the Motown special, where she hosted it and sang duets with a few of them. Back to Tina.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
She began her career, according to this, with Ike Turner's Kings of Rhythm in 1957 under the name of Little Ann, and her first appearance on record was on the single Box Top in 1958. She debuted, I can't say that word, you know what I'm saying,
yeah.
as Tina Turner with the hit duet single A Fall in Love. And then the duo
that was, do you know the story behind that?
Oh yeah, I've got it here in front of me. Art Lassiter. She wrote
that's the male singer who was meant to sing it.
Yeah, it says in 1960.
Turn up and she sang it, and they preferred her version. They put it out.
That's right. Yeah, it says here that Ike kept the demo, intending to erase her vocals and add Lassiter's at a later date, but the record company preferred hers and gave her £25,000 advance and recording and publishing rights. But,
and then she saw a record and wondered who's that Tina Turner, and he just made the name up for her and copyrighted it for himself.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
He now copyrighted her name. So if she left, he could bring in another Tina Turner.
She recorded that, and then apparently Art's backing band were called the Artettes, who then went over to Ike and became the Ikeettes. And over the years, I've just counted down, there have been 56 over the years.
Yeah,
and they're still going strong. And they Billboard ranked their single "I'm Blue," the Gong Gong song, as 63rd best in the 100 greatest girl group songs of all time. So they've had their solo success without Ike and Tina.
Yeah, I was watching a couple of their singles to buy one, but I haven't got round to buying one yet.
Yeah. Right, so basically in 61 they got a Grammy nomination for Best Rock and Roll Performance, and in between 60 and 62 had a few R&B hits with I Idolize You, Poor Fool and Tra-La-La-La. But looking at this, they were really big on the R&B and charts, but didn't obviously get mainstream success till 1966, when Phil Spector was eager to produce Tina, and he worked out a deal with Ike and Tina's manager, and the rest is history. River Deep, Mountain High. I mean, what do you think of that one, the song, as a song?
Well, it's great. I loved it. It's well, for a time, it's George Harrison's favourite song ever.
Right.
Yeah, he's quoted as his favourite song. You know a story all about it, where Phil Spector made her keep redoing the vocal all the time. The studio was getting really hot, and she was getting into different levels of undress while she was singing it, because she was getting so hot in there. And I think it was the final vocal that she did was the one that ended up on of the single.
Oh, right. I never knew that.
Yeah, and then Phil Spector took it to Jeff Barry and Ellie Greenwich to hear it, and Ellie Greenwich was so angry she smashed the record against the wall. She hated the version.
Yeah.
So a few stories. You pick up these stories, don't you? When you read, I think we did a Phil Spector show once, didn't we, with this on it, or we did a chart when River Deep was on it. So we did some research into it and picked up those stories.
It's the sort of story you hear about different artists, though, because there's that famous story that someone gave Bowie's first album to Anthony Newley in the snooker hall, and he played about 2 tracks of it and was so incensed that Bowie was ripping off his vocal style, he smashed the album against the side of the snooker table. It's one of those stories that seems to sort of pop up once in a while in different sort of scenarios, and it's probably true. I mean, but I wasn't there. I don't know if
it's like comedy, isn't it? They're all true, but it's how much they've been exaggerated or not.
Yeah. And the site that I'm reading is obviously going on the American charts because it's quoting that River Deep failed to get any higher than 88 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Yeah, I knew something like that is pretty low. Yeah.
Then they went back to R&B hits and lots of tours. Signed up with Loma Records. Another few hits. Tell her I'm not home and Goodbye So Long. And then
I've got another single by him from the 60s. I'm sure it's on the London label.
And then in the fall of '69, they got to open for the Rolling Stones on their US tour, which gained them a huge amount of exposure and got them on the Ed Sullivan Show, Playboy After Dark Show, the Andy Williams Show, and obviously raised their profile. A couple of albums, Come Together, which was obviously the Beatles song, and their cover of I Want to Take You Higher peaked at 34 on the Hot 100. But then they had their biggest hit so far in America in '71 with their version of Proud Mary, which I was going to ask you about. Do you think like everyone's Proud Mary is sort of now synonymous with Tina Turner sort of thing, her version? Do you think that a person covering a song like Creedence's song, do you think it's always going to be Creedence's song, or do you think that someone like Tina Turner can make it her own?
I'll totally believe that. I think Tina and certainly Aretha Franklin, they used to aim to make the song theirs, do their version of it, and it's a great performance of Proud Mary, especially if you see them doing it live.
Yeah.
On the kids, but I think if you put me those 2 versions, I prefer the Tina Turner version. It's the same chords and it's the same vocals and everything, but it's a totally different song.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But you can
the same thing happened when that group in the '70s, the one that just tottered on the edge of success and never made it, the Mean Machine, covered Bad Moon Rising by Creedence.
Oh well, that's probably one of the best versions I've ever heard with the classic offbeat.
Yeah. Right, so Proud Mary, biggest hit so far, number 4 on the Hot 100, selling more than 1 million copies and getting them a Grammy for the best R&B performance by duo or group. And they carried on much the same, again, big hits on the R&B charts, but nothing on the mainstream charts, until 1973, when the aforementioned Nutbush City Limits, which Tina wrote about the place she grew up in. Sold 250,000 copies in the UK. Great single again.
Yeah.
And one from our youth.
I didn't realise Tina Turner wrote it. I know she was complaining about Ike kept trying to get her to write songs, and she didn't like writing songs.
According to this, she only saying at the moment she wrote 2. That first single that she sang instead of that bloke, and this Nutbush City Limits, which she wrote about. But it doesn't say she wrote the music. It says she penned by Turner about her growing up in Nutbush. So that could mean that she just wrote the lyrics. I don't know. Then back to, it seems to be a fairly sort of pattern with Ike and Tina. They back to American R&B charts. They got another nomination for best R&B performance by a female, and but nothing like international until the one that you said you didn't like last night, the Rock Opera Tommy, when Tina appeared in, where she played the Acid Queen, which, according to this, was critically acclaimed. But when we were talking last night, you weren't too hot on it, were you?
I didn't. I don't. It's not my favourite song, but I didn't like the song in the film.
I think it was a bit an over-the-top performance. I know the whole film was weird and over-the-top, but her performance was extremely over-the-top.
Was it actually in the original Tommy, Acid Queen?
It's on the album. I think it is.
The original Tommy.
Yeah, you mean the original Tommy album by The Who?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's track 3, record 1, side 2, track 3.
Okay.
Yeah, and after that, very shortly after the Acid Queen, Ike made plans to leave United Artists Record for a 5-year deal with Cream Records for $150,000. But the deal had to be signed by July the 5th. On July the 1st, they flew into LA, from LA to Dallas, where the Review had a gig that night. And Ike was drunk, and they got into a physical altercation en route to the hotel. And shortly after arriving at the hotel, Turner fled from Ike with only 36 cents and a mobile gas card in her pocket, and hid in the Ramada Inn across the freeway. And she filed for divorce on July the 27th, and that was it. Ike and Tina were over. It was finalised on March the 29th, 1978. After their separation, United Artists released 2 more studio albums by them in 77 and 78.
Yeah, they did some solo albums for Tina as well.
Oh, yeah. If I shoot to the bottom here, she did solo albums.
She did Under My Thumb, which was a single.
Rough, 78.
Rough, that's what I was. Bit rough, and there's another album after that.
Love Explosion, 79.
Yeah.
And then it jumps to 84's Private Dancer.
Yeah, no, she was dropped in 79, 80 by United Artists.
Yeah, it says here that she did anything to earn a living. I saw an interview with her with Oprah, I think it was, where she was saying that she literally would have opened an envelope if it paid the bills. And she appeared on Hollywood Squares, Donnie and Marie, Cher Show, Brady Bunch. There were lawsuits mounting for the cancelled Ike and Tina Turner gigs, so she had to keep touring to pay her debts off. And she was in a pretty dire situation. In 1981, Rod Stewart attended the Tina Turner show at the Ritz and invited her to perform Hot Legs with him on Saturday Night Live, which gave her...
Yeah, because that was that is part of her set.
Oh, right.
Because jumping on a bit, she signed up with you should really be talking about the Roger Davis and signing up with him before that, because he's the one who
we'll go back to Roger Davis, and I'll let you take it from there, because you've got a book, haven't you?
Yeah, I haven't read. I read one chapter. One of her backing singers in her cabaret sort of show review kept giving her this guy's name to get in touch with, because Tina had no manager. All the cabaret gigs were being set up by a friend of hers who's just phoning around and setting up gigs for her. But Tina said, he's got to change stuff. What I want is she wanted to get back to being successful. She wanted to be a successful solo artist and do stuff. And to do that, she needed a manager. So she got in touch with this person who she was advised about, and it turned out to be Leo something was one guy, but the person he's working with was Roger Davies, who was managing Olivia Newton-John and had previously been the manager of Sherbet.
Sherbet, good old Sherbet.
How's that?
That's a nice link, bringing Sherbet into a Tina Turner tribute.
Yeah, well, it's there we go. I think he was a manager of November when they had their worldwide hit. So they had a meeting and spoke for, and Tina was explaining what she wanted. You know, she wanted a change of style. She wanted to be successful again, to take control of her career and do stuff. And she invited them to come out to see her in LA, where she was playing, and they hadn't. She didn't see anything from a while, but after 2 weeks, they both turned up and saw her live, and came down backstage and saw her, and they're really enthusiastic, and were agreed to manage her, but said, pointed out to her, that you've got to have a wider idea. It's not just America, whole world out there. You've got fans out there, and you need to build up your career, and we can build it up in sort of Europe first, and come now back to America. And as you know, as it folds out, that is sort of what's happened. And the first move from there was to move from LA over to New York, do a new act, get rid of the glitz and the massive bands and dancing girls and stuff, and do a more sort of a rock sort of show. So that's where you then get to 1981 that you're talking about, Rod Stewart, where she'd been playing the grits for quite a time in New York, and starting to build up this new following and stuff. Roger Davies, who actually seems a really brilliant manager, because he's able to plot stuff out and in that trajectory, because what he said to her, and they agreed, it actually seemed to go through, and it built up momentum as they were going along.
So we're fast approaching the bit we were talking about of 1982 in London, and was it 82? Was it 84?
82.
82.
Yeah.
And Glenn Gregory, BEF, Martin Ware, more Martin Ware. He was the producer, wasn't he?
Who's the other guy? Is it
Ian Craig Marsh and
Ian Craig Marsh? I mean, she speaks really highly of Martin Ware and Ian Craig Marsh, working with them, because remember, Heaven 17 was a project that came under BEF.
Yeah.
Electronic Foundation. They did lots of things. I did the albums, music of quality and distinction. I did instrumental albums, and another one coming out of that was when they brought in Glenn Gregory to be the singer.
Yeah.
With them. So it was those two. It was Martin Ware and Marsh who were running everything there.
The album, Music of Quality and Distinction, I'm trying to think what I remember of it at the time. I think Sandy Shaw was good. And I remember that bloke who sadly killed himself from the Associates.
Billy Mackenzie.
Yes, yeah. His version, because it was a Bowie song.
Paulie Yates.
Oh, yeah, Paulie Yates, yeah, these boots, yeah. But
Glenn Gregory's on it. He does Perfect Day, and he does a Beatles song.
Yeah.
I think on it, but I'll find out soon because I've got my copy of the box set with the 5 singles who'd winging its way to me.
Winging its way to you.
Should be here next week, hopefully.
Good. According to the discography, they only released 2 official 7-inch singles of it, the Sandy Shore one and the Tina Turner one, which, according to this, neither of them charted in the UK.
I remember us clearly talking about this and getting. Neither of us. Did you not even buy a single from it? Because I remember us talking about it. You must have bought the Gary Glitter one.
I might have done.
I remember us talking about it in your kitchen.
I'd like to think I bought the Sandy Shore one because I liked it, but I can't remember if I did. But I have got it now because I brought it for the Sandy Shore collection. But did I really buy the Gary Glitter one? Oh dear. Dear, oh dear. Not something I'm going to admit to again online.
It's getting things coming together. I looked at a podcast yesterday which said that BEF in '82 were doing this album, and their idea was to get other singers in to do it, which is quite common now, isn't it? It's sort of the duets albums and stuff like that, where it's or albums where they bring other singers coming in. But back then, it was totally new. No one really did that, and the album was actually classed as a various artists album.
Oh right, yeah.
So it didn't even properly chart for them. It did make it in the charts, but it made it in as a various artist LP rather than a BEF LP. But the story behind was that they wanted James Brown.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry. They wanted James Brown to do Ball of Confusion. And he agreed to do it, but then his managers then came back and said, yeah, he'll do it. He wants all of the royalties from the song, but he also wants a chunk of the royalties from every other artist on there as well. So BEF said no. And then they obviously had to do this track, and someone came up with Tina Turner. So Virgin Records then went out and contacted Tina's manager to see if she would be able to come in to do it. So that's how it all came about, and now she's first worked with BEF. To be honest, I can't even remember Ball of Confusion, but yeah, well, that's how it came about. But it was obviously the album was picked up and people heard that, but the singles bombed. But we're slipping now into '83 now, aren't we? So we'd had the David Bowie.
Oh, the David Bowie story, yeah.
Story where he gave her a big no leg up when he was in New York, and he was meant. All his record company people were trying to get him to come to dinner with them, but he said he couldn't make it because he had a prior appointment, and he was going to see Tina Turner, but the Grits, who he said was his favourite singer, which obviously must have upset Anthony Newley at the time. And that's probably why he
smashed the album.
Smashed the album in the snooker room. But and that sort of got the interest of the record companies, because the story is when Roger Davis was going out trying to get a deal for her. Every company he went to, they just said Ike, because they'd all experienced problems with Ike Turner before over contracts and doing stuff, and they'd not touch her. But with the push from David Bowie, they then started to get interest. She's obviously getting some good feedback from these Ritz gigs, and she signed to Capitol, and they arranged for her to come over. Well, perhaps she suggested she'd like to work with Martin Weir and Bev again. She came over to London to Abbey Road, and they agreed to do some songs. Let's Stay Together and 1984.
Oh yeah.
Were the songs they're going to do. And she said she walked into this big Abbey Road studio. Imagine see loads of musicians and everything, and there's this big machine which looked like an X-ray machine, was the only thing in there, and he programmed it all, and she loved the music that came out, and that's it really. And that came her first real start to her solo career.
Yeah.
She's got her own label now. She's done her first recording at Abbey Road, and she has a hit with that first single in the UK, and in the next year, that's 83, early 84, it then became a hit in the States as well.
Because you were saying that she credited Bowie for giving her that leg up she needed to get back in, sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, she says it in the book about it, that him just doing that thing back then really helped.
Famously, it's been on loads of different YouTube sites over the last couple of days how she recorded the album in just 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but not only in just two weeks, but she had no songs. She only had 1984 and Let's Stay Together with only 2 songs.
Right. I didn't
for the
realise
album, and Terry Britton had What's Love Got to Do with It, and probably a couple of other songs, but she hated that when she first heard it.
Yeah, I saw an interview with him where he said
she teenified it. And he liked what she did with it and made some chord changes and stuff like that, and she liked it then. And that's what she did with songs. She got a song and she'd alter it to suit her vocal.
So I just noticed here, looking at me, be very interested to hear. It says in 1984, Capitol issued the album's second single, What's Love Got to Do with It. The song had previously been recorded by the pop group Bucks Fizz. So I'd like to hear their version of it. It'd be quite interesting.
Yeah.
But
I would like to hear that, because I can't find the demo version. I presume they'd have recorded it as Terry Britton wanted it recorded.
Yeah.
So you're here. You can compare them both, can't you, and see how she altered it. She got a private dancer turned up off of Mark Knopfler, he'd written it for himself, and he did his own demo version of it, but felt it was really for a woman to sing. He didn't really like it, but she really liked his version, which is quite different to her version. But I wonder if that's on YouTube somewhere, because that'd be interesting to hear it, unless it's been released
It might
you
have
know
come
all
out.
these albums they do demos and stuff on it. It'd be worth trying to find that.
I saw an interview on last Thursday night, I think the day after she died, where it was an interview from years ago with Terry Britton, where he was saying that she walked in the studio and said to him, before we start, you got to know I hate this song. And he said to her, okay, let's record it, and then if you don't like it, we won't release it. And obviously, as you say, she did what she wanted to do to it, and they did release it, and it was a good job they did, because it went mega, didn't it? Her first number one in America.
Yeah. In the States, absolutely. Yeah. It's just right for. I mean, that song is really, really, really key for her in a lot of ways, because obviously this is a time of MTV, so everyone's doing the videos now. She did the video for Let's Stick Together, which cost under $2,000, which was really cheap back then, I guess. But she did 2 videos for What's Love Got to Do with It. The first one is in black and white. The single came out a little later in the US, and they didn't like the black and white video, and they asked her to do a new one. So she just took a camera around New York and filmed it walking around New York.
Yeah, I was watching
the main thing about that is the big hair, the denim jacket, the leather skirt, and the high heels, which is that was the first time you had the real classic new rock Tina Turner look.
Yeah. Now, the viewers wouldn't know because of the wonderful and excellent editing, but we sometimes have to take breaks in the shows for various reasons, and we've just taken a break. And since the break, both Marcus and I have listened to Bucks Fizz's version of not just says Simply the Best, idiot. But Bucks Fizz didn't do Simply the Best, of What's Love Got to Do with It.
But we failed to listen to Bonnie Tyler's The Best.
I didn't. I'll bring that up later.
Oh, right. Fair enough.
Yes. So, what did you think of Bucks Fizz? We both thought it was very 80s, didn't we? Very very typical of the time.
Yeah, it certainly had the sort of drum machines in it, and you can imagine the clothes they're wearing, can't you?
Yeah.
Hearing the music, and it was all right, but clearly what we mentioned before is that the Tina version was Tina-fied. Weren't it? They were the same words, slightly altered music, I think, because she said she had Terry Britton challenged a couple of chords for her, but they're totally different songs.
But anyway, we now are in 1984, and we're going to slip into 85, which the obvious big point was Live Aid, where she duetted with Mick, and I still haven't bothered looking up what it was, and I'm 99% sure it was State of Shock, because I remember her. In fact, I remember her doing State of Shock, so it must have been State of Shock. But I'm just looking.
Was that in Philadelphia? Or was it here?
It was in Philadelphia, yeah. It was because I remember it was on about 4:00 in the morning here. I be 100% honest, apart from just having this picture in my mind of her and Mick and her singing State of Shock, I don't actually remember their version, but it was never one of those songs that, it was okay, but I didn't love it, and it wasn't anything special. In fact, the only thing that was ever of any interest to me about State of Shock is it was originally recorded by Michael Jackson and Freddie Mercury before they fell out, and then Jagger stepped in. and then it became a Jackson song. I'm looking down her list of single releases.
She taught him how to dance, apparently.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
What, then or earlier when they toured?
I think it's much earlier than that. But it's either a joke they have or something. But some I keep coming across the statement that she taught him how to dance.
Yep. So looking down the list of singles, there were actually a couple more singles in '84 before '85. There was "Better Be Good to Me" and "Private Dancer," and then in '85,
we spoke about "Private Dancer."
Yeah.
Earlier.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, about Martin Knopfler saying he didn't feel comfortable singing it.
Yeah.
I Can't Stand the Rain and Show Some Respect. I can't remember Show Some Respect. Apparently, it got to number 37 over here. But
you don't like I Can't Stand the Rain for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why. I couldn't possibly tell you why. The song. I don't dislike Tina's version any more than I dislike Ann Peebles' version or anyone else who's done it. I just don't like the song. I bet you if I sat
Eruption.
Oh, did they do it as well? Oh, right, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It just popped into my head.
I'm now going to go away after the show's finished and listen to I Can't Stand the Rain and discover I do like it. I haven't listened to it for about 30 years because I've got it in my head that I don't like that song. But at the time I didn't like the song and I've just refused to listen to it since. If it comes on the
yeah, you didn't used to. You were very glam, weren't you, back?
Yeah, but yeah, this is you're true. Yeah,
in those days, you were very. No, it was rock. It's Thin Lizzy and glam and very much you were set in one sort of. Yeah, I mean your taste has widened sort of massively now, but you did get into loads of acts back then, if I recall. You were the lead finding some acts.
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember telling you about Blondie, about Bob Marley. Can't remember anyone else off the top of my head that you got first. But
you got me to go and buy. I was going record shop and you asked me to get Anarchy in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The UK, yeah. And I said, "What's that?"
Okay. Touche. I see that 85 there was a couple of singles. I Can't Stand the Rain and Show Some Respect, but then the big one from the film that we haven't talked about yet. We Don't Need Another Hero, Thunderdome.
I heard it the other day. A single. I'd love it. It's a great thing. It's very much one of those sort of anthem sort of songs. As I think we saw about it on that podcast the other day. It's a sort of wave your arms up in the air sort of song. Very much one that Queen used to like doing those sort of songs.
Oh yeah.
We're the champions and all that sort of stuff. But no, I heard it for the first time in ages the other day when I was listening to some old Tina songs, and I didn't realise I liked it so much. It was a little bit earlier or later, but I know she was offered a part in The Colour Purple by Steven Spielberg.
Right, I'm not sure when that was. Hang on. When was The Colour Purple?
It was before that. It's definitely before that. Quite a bit before that. But the part, in the book, it said it reminded her too much of her life.
1983.
And she couldn't think. Well, that fits in nicely, doesn't it, with that period? But it reminded her so much of her upbringing and early life that she couldn't do it.
She also released a duet single that year with Bryan Adams, It's Only Love, which was nominated for a Grammy Award. We're now into 86, where she released her 6th solo album, Break Every Rule. I'm just looking down her singles list now, and there's a few that I just don't recognise. Maybe they didn't come out over here, but after a Thunderdome, Typical male, I remember. Two people, girls. What you get is what you see. That was a big hit over here. Break Every Rule. Back Where You Started. Paradise Is Here and Afterglow. Don't know those two. And then she released 2 live singles because she did a live album. She released Nutbush City Limits Live and Addicted to Love Live. Oh, 3 live singles. And Tonight Live with David Bowie. 4 live singles.
That is her favourite song. She did live, Addicted to Love.
Oh, right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, she loved that. She thought it was a bit naughty and stuff like that, but that was her favourite live song.
But according to this, she also embarked on the highest grossing tour by a female artist in North America that year. And in January now, we're jumping, because it's jumped on the screen in front of me, so 88, where it says that she performed in approximately 180,000 people in Rio. I saw an interview with their manager where he said 186, but I suppose
with those numbers,
isn't going to make a lot of difference.
In all reality, I guess that's an estimation, sort of, anyway, because there's always extra people manage to get in and stuff like that. So it's like bringing football in. It's like the 1923 FA Cup final, where the ground held 100,000 people, but they reckon 200,000 people came in. But it's an estimate. Because extra people made it in. You broke in and whatever. You can actually do it by ticket sales.
It's just
there is, of course, only one other band which could have topped that, but they never made it to Rio.
No, I don't think they actually made it past Barnes.
They did make that pub in Ealing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and the Greenford.
Oh, Greenford, sorry, yeah.
Well, they got played a princely sum of 50p each for that gig.
Yeah, and had the honour of having the plug pulled on them.
And maybe, I'm not sure, but we'd have to check the records, but it might be the only gig in history where the bass player played the bass solo to My Generation in the outside toilet because he didn't want anyone to see him because he couldn't play it.
Yeah,
but,
didn't the drummer set his kit up facing the wall?
Yeah. To be honest, looking at the screen in front of me, the second part of the 80s was literally spent touring, releasing a live album. She released Foreign Affair, which again was a great success, #1 in 8 countries and went 5 times platinum. And The Best, which brings me on to what we were saying earlier. I watched Bonnie Tyler's version earlier, and what you commented that you thought it would sound like in the car, you were spot on. A lot of screaming. A video where, interestingly, she's taken Tina's look. She's wearing a denim jacket and a short leather skirt, and she's singing to all these sort of greasy rock and roller type teddy boys and girls who are all pairing off, and it's all about being simply the best. It has a whole different. It's the same as what we were saying about the Bucks Fizz. It's the same song, same words, and nearly the same tune exactly, but it's just a different song.
I'll have to check that out after this.
And then we slipped into the 90s. In 1990, she embarked on the Foreign Affair tour, which drew 4 million spectators, breaking the record for a European tour. She seems to be breaking lots of records.
Yeah.
Over and over. That was a record she broke that was previously set by the Stones, and released her first greatest hits album, which was called Simply the Best. The album was the biggest seller in the UK, where it was 8 times platinum with 2 million copies sold. Again, another record. Wow. Interestingly, in 1991, she got a second induction to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, this time with Ike and Tina Turner, but she didn't turn up. Phil Spector took the award on her behalf. She said that she couldn't step back into that part of her life, and she felt she was emotionally unequipped to return to the US and give the night the celebration that it basically.
So I totally get that, because it was a different. Well, she did actually with a plan with a manager totally reinvented herself.
93 saw the semi-autobiographical film What's Love Got to Do With It, starring Angela Bassett and Lawrence Fishburne as Ike and Tina. Tina was not heavily involved in the film, apart from contributing to the soundtrack when she re-recorded some of her old songs and a couple of new songs, including the single I Don't Want to Fight. I saw an interesting...
but wasn't that the name of her no actual biography she did back then, or was it later on? The film must have been based on.
Yeah. In the video, I saw a video of her sitting at the press conference for the film, where she completely owned the press conference, because all the press was shouting, "Tina, what do you think of the film? Tina, what do you think of the film?" And she just sat there and said, I haven't seen it, and I don't intend watching it. I don't feel that I can go back and watch that part of my life again. And then she looked at one of the reporters and said, "Would you watch a film where it shows you being beaten on an almost daily basis?" Yeah. And she got it spot on.
Right. I'm sorry. I was under the impression she was involved.
She was only involved in the soundtrack. She just couldn't emotionally get involved.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, because that's what I said earlier. She said about no, sorry, that's a different part of her life that she left behind. Yeah,
cool. Yeah, I can totally understand that she just didn't want to go back there. She then went on the What's Love tour, which again broke records in North America and Australia, and in '95 returned to the studio to record the soundtrack for the GoldenEye film, or the lead song for the GoldenEye film, which until you probably knew this, but until looking at it on the screen in front of me, I didn't realise was written by Bono and The Edge of U2.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh. That's tainted it for me. That's tainted it for me slightly.
But only that I'm now collecting Bond singles. Not.
Oh right.
Let's put a different taint on it now.
Yeah. Then she released the Wildest Dream album and did the Wildest Dream tour. Now I don't actually remember that album, but now we're in the '90s, and I really wasn't listening to a lot of music in the '90s.
I mean, my '90s is really the odd performances I can remember from Top of the Pops, because it was an age thing, weren't it? Really, and,
yeah.
You know, children growing up and stuff, and you know, you're out that sort of thing, and it, you know, the music scene. In fact, be honest, from then right up to now is a bit. I don't know it as fully as I do the sort of the '80s and no before. Now, clearly, by the facts you're saying out there, is that she was a real key player, weren't she?
Yeah.
Albums would look forward to. They sold a lot, went sort of multi platinum. It's just amazing to come back from sort of 30 cents in her purse to go into that. So even if you don't like her music and stuff, you got to totally respect her. And I think that's a lot of people in the tributes, particularly from women, were saying the sort of, that's, you know, the legacy she had, not the actual tunes, but what she did, how she came back. You know, it's amazing.
Well, she wasn't finished with her records yet, because I looked up, because we were talking about when did she actually retire. You were right. She officially retired in 2009, but she retired from concerts in 1999-2000 when she did her One Last Time tour, which again broke the record for being the highest grossing tour of over 120 million for it's called the 24/7 tour, but sorry, and that was the highest grossing for 120 million. Then she, off the back of that, she did 2 concerts at Wembley Stadium and were released as a DVD called The One Last Time in Concert. Sorry, I got them confused. The tour was actually called the 24/7 tour, and the DVD was called One Last Time in Concert. And in July 2000, at a concert in Zurich, Switzerland, Turner announced that she would retire at the end of the tour, and she did, and moved to Switzerland, as we both know.
Yeah.
She was quite quiet in the 2000s, but wasn't finished with her records. In 2004, she released another greatest hits, All the Best, which debuted at number 2 on the Billboard Top 200, making it her highest ever charting album over there. And It went 3 times platinum, so she was still knocking it out. In 2005, she got an award from the JFK Center of Performing Arts, and made a public comeback in 2008 at the Grammy Awards, where she performed alongside Beyonce. So she was we're just at the very end of her career now. She was so much for her last tour. In 2008, she embarked on her first tour in nearly 10 years, Tina, the 50th anniversary tour, to support her recently released Greatest Hits compilation. And this is just sort of getting repetitive. The tour was a huge success and became one of the best-selling tours of all time. In 2009, she officially retired from performing. So it's right up to her very last tour, she was breaking records.
Wow, that's amazing.
Then in 2010, back to the UK, due to an online campaign by the Rangers Football Club, Tina's 1989 hit, The Best, returned to the UK singles chart, peaking at number 9. I don't remember that.
No.
I thought I might, you sort of read it online about the campaign and everything, but that went over my head, which made her, yes, another record, the first female artist to have top 40 hits in 6 consecutive decades, the 60s to the 2010s. So that brings us round to 2016, when she announced she'd been working on the stage show Tina, a musical based on her life story, which opened at the Aldwych Theatre in London in 2018 with Adrienne Warren in the lead role. And Warren reprised her role on Broadway in 2019. And then in
Do you ever fancy seeing any of those shows? So you've seen the Queen one.
I've seen the Queen one, but
you enjoyed that. The only one I've seen, I got a drag to see the Take That one.
Did you enjoy it?
I did, actually. So songs to catch it. Yeah, you do. You get.
Yeah.
I just love the theatre. So
on the same. I think it was Amy and Becky dragged me along to see Mamma Mia, and I actually quite enjoyed it. The film was awful, but the stage show was quite good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing Tina. Is it still on, or is it all finished now?
Yeah.
The songs would just be great. I mean, she's done so many good songs.
Yeah.
In 2018, she got a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award and released her second memoir, My Love Story.
That's the one I've got.
Oh, right. And I've got to do it, because you do it every single show. Hello, Doyle.
We've got some company, yeah.
Yeah. And in 2020, she came out of retirement to collaborate with Norwegian producer on a remix of What's Love Got to Do With It, which meant that she became the first artist to have top 40 hits in 7 consecutive decades in the UK. So right up to virtually her death, she was breaking records.
Amazing.
Which is, like you say, is absolutely amazing, considering she ran out of that motel with a few cents in her pocket.
Yeah, and being dumped by United Artists.
Yep.
But they're wishing they held on to her now.
I was just going to say that what you just said brings it round really good to this point that I was just going to bring up. It's dumped by a label, and then in October 2021, she sold the rights to her music to BMG for 50 million. Then she was also inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of... I can't say things today. The Rock and Roll...
I can actually say, have you stuck your teeth in correctly?
No, I was running out of Switzerland. Tina was inducted...
I think the listeners would probably donate if I put up one of those pages, what they
Go
call
fund me.
GoFundMe to keep you in Fixodent.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
I'd love it.
You'll put a link. You'll put a link on the comments.
I will indeed, but
Yeah.
getting away from that link and again, talking about links, a perfect link. You just bring me round to the fact that because of copyright, we obviously haven't played any of Tina's music in this, but there will be a Tina playlist in the links below.
Excellent.
And virtually the very last thing that happened in 2021 was she was inducted again into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist, but she didn't leave Zurich. I assume she was ill. She accepted her award via satellite from her home. Personal life, she married in 2013 to Erwin Butler.
Yeah.
But she'd known him since 1986.
Yeah.
He'd been sent out. He'd worked for a European record label and been sent out to Greater at Düsseldorf Airport. But they began dating and married, and it was a 27 romantic relationship. And as she once said, he actually became the love of her life. Now we get on to the very last bit of the page, which says awards, honours and achievements, and they go on for ages, so I won't read them all, but just she's won a total of 12 Grammy Awards and 8 competitive Grammy Awards. She's won Best Female Rock Performance.
What's a competitive Grammy then? Do you go up against someone and beat someone?
Oh, I guess it must be, yeah. And 3 of her recordings, River Deep, Mountain High, Proud Mary, and What's Love Got to Do with It, are all in the Grammy Hall of Fame. It just goes on and on. I mean, I could read this forever. She was the first black female artist on the cover of Rolling Stone in 1967, ranked number 2 on VH1's Greatest Women in Rock and Roll in 1991. I mean, it's going back to what you just said. It's incredible to look at this page in front of me and just see literally about 50 awards and 50 things like that, and to see where she came from. We're really at the end of her career. So basically, we need to sort of sum up. What did you think of Tina Turner as an artist?
I said, really, I mean, my real big memory of her. I mean, one thing I can remember was that when we with other people used to run that craft fair in Kew.
Oh yeah.
We used to did the music, and I always remember the Tina Turner album, Private Dancer, will always put on.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? It was always played, and people seemed to enjoy it. So my real big time this year was 1980s when she came back. You know, I just loved Let's Stay Together and stuff like that, and really got me interest going. I mean, I liked all the early ones, Proud Mary and River Deep, Mountain High, and all of that. But I really liked that comeback period.
Oh yeah. I mean, to be honest, I shared a room with my brother. He was 9 years older than me, and he was into the Who, the Kinks, the Small Faces. He did like Otis Redding, but I don't ever remember him playing I Can Tina. So they were off I knew the songs River Deep and Proud Mary, but she really came big time on my radar, like you, in the 80s with her stuff. And just doing this show just makes me realise what an amazing comeback it was. One last little thing. When she died, they were quoting about British people being responsible for her comeback, and you and me were getting a bit indignant because everyone was just glossing over the Heaven 17 sort of BEF thing. But one of the people, I think you told me, they said it was Bowie, which we've gone over, and he did have a thing. Someone else, and Lennon. Did Lennon actually have anything to do with it?
No, I think that's me making a mistake, but it was Rod Stewart,
right?
You know, for Roxy Saturday Night Live, picked up by the Rolling Stones for those 3 gigs, and then the comments by David Bowie before his next album was coming out. Cool.
Right. Well, as always, I've actually remembered this time. Please like, subscribe, follow and click the bell to know when we upload more videos, because as always, it's free to do, takes a minute, and it really helps us because it means our videos get out there. I don't think we've actually planned anything concrete for next one, but you came up with an idea the other day about doing a short show on Sparks, and they're coming back and they're filling the Albert Hall. So do you want to maybe do that as a quick filler later this week?
Yeah, I don't mind doing that, but it'll be much shorter.
Oh yeah,
sort of quarter of an hour, very quick gloss over them, and perhaps we can do those quite regular when a band from the past pops up, because they're obviously not from the past, because I think they're on their 23rd LP.
Yeah, they've
kept going non-stop, and they've got a whole new sort of young audience now.
So it'll be Sparks later in the week, and that was the life in a nutshell of Tina Turner. Great artist, fantastic story. It's almost like a fairy story, and all we can say is rest in peace, Tina, and we'll see you.
Absolutely, yeah. Bye. See you all.